What's up, YouTube? I am the GOAT, and I'm talking about the new Wolverine movie that comes out. So here's my official review on that one. I'm gonna start it off nice and simple. I'm just gonna get into the movie and tell you what I felt about it. I liked it, believe it or not. I didn't go in here with high hopes. Maybe that made a difference, especially after that first Wolverine movie. Wolverine Origins was a real big letdown, and it was just bad. The characters weren't used right. I was very upset with it. A lot of people were. It just wasn't that great. When I heard they were making a sequel, I was like, I never went into this 100% like behind it. Even though I knew what storyline they were kind of going to touch on, which is one of my favorites, the whole Shingen Mariko Yoshida storyline. But the way that they did and everything ended up being a really good movie. They know how to write Wolverine this time around. You understand Wolverine being kind of this masterless samurai. That's what they call him the whole time. Because we're in Japan. Why not be stereotypical for some reason? They wrote him very well. They wrote the Yoshida clan kind of cool. They did a couple of things that were kind of weird. They didn't really get into the whole "we live in a world full of mutants" thing. There's 1.5 other mutants that they kind of talk about in the movie. It's just never really a big part of everything. But I guess that's really to make you focus on the storyline, focus on these characters that they've set up, which were really, really cool. They used the Shingen fight, which is one of my favorite things in comics, period. It's kind of like pulled back and kind of the movie is violent, don't get me wrong. You can't have a Wolverine movie and not be violent, but they kind of pulled everything back and kind of made it so that it was watchable and stuff like that. It wasn't as deep as it could have been, and I was really weary on the whole Wolverine losing his powers thing and what that meant and how that came about. But they did a good job of it. I was pleasantly surprised. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, go check it out now. If you have seen it, you're welcome to stay. But this is the point where I'm going to get into some spoilers and stuff, and I'm really going to get deep into the movie. Alright, so I'll give you alright, so thanks for bearing with me. Alright, let's get right into it. The movie's freaking awesome. I really liked it. The Silver Samurai wasn't done that well. In the end, he ended up being some like giant adamantium mech suit, but they did explain why he can kind of cut through other adamantium, because Wolverine does lose his claws, and I was like kind of freaking out about what that meant for everything. I kind of forgot he had bone claws underneath all that. They did a really good job with that, and the inclusion of Viper was really, really, really interesting. She was throughout the whole movie. She was doing little weird things, and I was with my friend, and I'm trying to figure out who is she. Because it wasn't, again, they took the main storyline and they kind of didn't stick to it. They added characters and stuff, and I was very, very impressed with it. I liked it. I liked what they were able to do with it. But yeah, Viper's inclusion kind of caught me off guard. I was hoping to see the whole Serpent Squad or whatever they're called, whatever her little group is called. But it was just her, and she was really kind of badass, and she had a brutal death in that movie. It was really cool to see. The relationship between Wolverine and Mariko Yoshida is one of the most important things in Wolverine's past. If you know his history and everything, you know that woman is one of the, forget Jean Grey. That is probably the love of his life. And the movie does take place directly after the actual X-Men movies. All 3 of them are addressed. The fact that he's killed Jean Grey, because Jean Grey is actually in the movie throughout it. She pops up a couple of times as him having these dream sequences and speaking to her, and he's apologizing to her. It's really, really, really made for some nice scenes that cut up the movie and transitioned very well for the storyline and building on Wolverine's character. I was really digging it. There's one character, the girl that she in the trailer with the red hair. Her name is like Ayuka or something like that. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but she actually plays a big part in the movie, not too big, and she's that half a mutant that I was talking about, because they never addressed fully that she's a mutant, but her power is more of a plot device. She can see people's death, and it comes up later in the movie. Wolverine losing his powers due to something that Viper did, it didn't make complete sense, nor did it how they were taking his healing factor from. It didn't really make any sense, but once you saw it, it was like, okay, cool, whatever. My mind was blown when Wolverine lost his claws. That was probably one of the biggest shocking things I saw in the movie. The whole theater gasped behind me because it's not something conceptually that you think could happen. But even in the comic book, it's something that when you're dealing with the Silver Samurai, it's one of his abilities. It's actually one of his mutant abilities. He can put like his soul or something through his sword, and it makes him be able to cut through anything, and that includes adamantium. And then the great moment, the end of it. The movie ends, and again, I was pleasantly surprised. I was already pretty content, and it was cool. We do the regular trailers with like pictures and stuff like that. I noticed that the lights didn't come back on, so then the movie comes back on. Wolverine is in an airport, and he opts for the pat down and not the metal thing. But everything metal around him starts to shake and gravitate toward behind him. Wolverine smells the air, turns around, it's Magneto. He goes to stab him. Magneto freezes his arm, and they start talking. Everyone else around them freezes, and Magneto says that there's something coming that they need his help for, that's larger than their little squabble. And Wolverine says, "Why should I trust you?" He says, "I knew you wouldn't trust me." And then comes Professor effing Xavier. I crapped a brick, but I kind of knew it was coming because Days of Future Past is coming. You can see like cast photos. The original cast is all up in there, plus some new faces like Bishop. It looks really, really cool, and I'm curious as to what they're going to do. And what's cool is that they used the cast of the First Class movies, James McAvoy and as Professor X, the younger one, and the other guy, this guy. He played Magneto in the older one. Plus, you have Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart coming back to reprise their roles. It should be really, really cool, really, really interesting. They're putting a lot of money behind this. What's interesting is that they've done it just like the comic books, where the X-Men have their world, and the Avengers and stuff, and the mainstream characters, they have their world, and they don't really mix, at least not yet. Which is why Viper kind of caught me off guard, because when you see Viper, she's usually with S.H.I.E.L.D. and stuff. So I was like, you could do so many things with that. But it was cool. But yeah, Days of Future Past, that was really the icing on a cake that I was willing to eat. Not that I'll eat any cake if you know me. So check it out yourself. Tell me what you thought of the movie. How did you feel going into it? How did you feel coming out of it? And put Days of Future Past aside. I will say, Mason AJ asked me a very good question. Did the teaser for Days of Future Past make the movie? And I have to absolutely say, no. Believe it or not, no. It was a good standalone movie on its own. I wouldn't add it to my collection, but I mean, it was cool. It was watchable. Yeah, if it came on a rerun on FX, I might actually watch it. Like, it's one of those. Like, because the Wolverine Origins, I just skip right over it. But tell me what you think. Continue to watch our other stuff. I'll see you guys around for the next movie, which is, I think, like Thor or something. There's also Kick-Ass 2 and a couple of other things. Catch you guys on the flip side. Deuces.
Money. Yes, I got the starlight. I'm shining hard, using God as my guiding light. No soap opera, say the drama for the playwrights. I'm presidential like Obama, so get it right. Get your life, man, cause you ain't living right. Pray to God